thanks so much for returning to my channel, if you are. And if this is the first video of mine that you've stumbled on, welcome. Hope you like it. And if you do, make sure to subscribe, all right? And hit the bell notification button and all that kind of other stuff. So generally, in all my other videos, I do kind of one lick kind of guitar idea per video. But somebody on Facebook, on one of the posts that I did, where I kind of try to market these, my YouTube stuff, he suggested doing a guitar solo where I'm pulling licks from all these lessons. So that's what I did. So, you know, this is a solo in G, 12-bar blues, 1-4-5 progression, and it's based off of 8 licks over a backing track in G. I don't have permission on that backing track. I mean, I don't really think it's a big issue to use other people's backing tracks to post on your YouTube page. But anyway, if you go on YouTube and Google country backing tracks, there's lots of stuff there. And another huge supply of backing tracks you can find like on Spotify and iTunes. It's unbelievable. You go into Spotify and you hit, you know, backing tracks and A, country. It's just like the list goes on, and there's songs, like songs that you know, and it's just people put, you know, no vocals or no solos, and you can just play over them. Just like an incredible idea for practicing. Anyway, so I'll kind of go through. What I'm going to do is just go through that the solo I did at the beginning, which licks I used, and in the description I'll put links to the other lessons, so you can kind of go. I'm not going to go as slowly as I have in the actual lessons for the lick in this one. I think that would be a little too repetitive. Anyway, the solo that I did starts with the lick I taught in lesson 29. I titled it kind of a Brent Mason type of thing, just because it uses a lot of open strings. It was this one. So that was... Alright, so that is in G, and you're just kind of outlining parts of the G chord on each lick. So it's just a set of triplets or threes. And up until you get to the end, they all use an open string as the last note of the phrase. Open. So I'm plucking that D string open. Then I'm plucking the G string open. And then I'm plucking the B open. And then I'm plucking the E open. And then I go up here and almost like a D minor shape there. Alright, so that's the first lick I opened the thing with. Okay, and then I go up, the next lick from the series is lick 2, but in order to get there, just to fill in some gaps, I kind of mess around with kind of pentatonic type shapes, major pentatonic shapes. So you'd be in this position at the 8th fret, based off that G note. And I think I did some fills here up at the 12th, which is based on that A shape. The A shape. And, you know, you just kind of do pentatonic type of runs there. So up, if you do it up at the 12th, that's your G chord right there, right? So I just kind of messed around there just to get me back into the lick, which was this one. Right, so that's that crazy sliding one. That's lick number 12, and it goes like this. Okay, so it's based off this pedaling here on the with your index finger on the D note, G string 7th fret, and then you're with the other fingers you're just going through kind of the G scale, adding this semitone, this chromatic tone here on the C sharp. But of a neat thing. It's not really that musical, but it's kind of cool. Right? And then I just dove into a lick from lesson 2, the second lesson on this whole series. Right? Right? The lick on the video is an E, but I'm just shifting it up to play this lick at a G. So it's I'm just doing this repetitive pattern. Right? So starting on the 10th fret. And that ends here. A slide up to the B on the 7th, to the G, pull off from the E to the D, and then you kind of slide into the B, and then go to the G. You're just, playing notes of the triad, right? The triad notes are D, B, and G. Right? And then I kind of slid down using 6. And then that bought me time, which I got into the 4 chord, which was your C. And I kept it pretty easy on the C, just probably because I wasn't able to think fast enough to throw in a lick from that would work over that. So I just went to the... I was just kind of messing around, filling out time with the pentatonic. So just like I was messing around up here at the 12th to do the G, I messed around here at the 5th. The steel bend, 101 steel bend. And then I kind of do this. I do this a lot. Just kind of walk down to the 7th note of the scale. So when you're in C, the 7th would be a B flat. Right? And then I just kind of went into that position there and did that lick. So that lick, you've seen me on lots of videos do it in G. I think the very first lesson. Right. So basically, it's this major blues sound. It's the B.B. King lick. He was always, your pentatonic blues pattern. Right. And then if you kind of just take this pattern and go 1 up. You got that, you got that B.B. King thing, right? But that's the home of the major sound for country, if you're an A. So anyway, it's usually wherever your index finger is on the root, and then you're doing that shape. Then you're kind of in the major of that key. So if you're in G, you're doing it there. So anyway, I was in C, so I was just using the very first fret. C. Right? Alright, so that got me there. And then as it goes back to the G, I repeated that first lick. I don't know why I repeated it, just because I couldn't think of something else quick enough. Right, so just repeated that. And now I'm coming up to the 5 chord, the D, and I think, after I did this, somehow I got back up here, filling in time there at the 12th fret, and then I go to the D, and then, so I'm going to that lick that I just told you about, where you just take on the B string, where, and that, using that as your root for the chord, so, up here on the 15th on the B string, that's a D. So that pattern is kind of your a major sound that you play over D. So I kind of got up in there, and then I did this lick. Okay, so that was from lesson 7. Okay, but I think on lesson 7 I was doing it in G. I was doing it in G, so I'm doing it up here. I'll do that slowly. Alright. I'll do do it in G just so you can see it clearer because the frets are bigger. Alright, so that took me to the 5 chord. I kind of kept it simple and just did the same thing I was doing over the C. Right, so just go into the pentatonic. Just kind of walk down to the 7th note, and then into those fills. You know, if I kind of kept doing it over and over again, I would have thrown that in. Anyway, but I didn't. So. Alright, so that took me to the 4 chord, and then when I go back to the G, I did that climbing half-step bending thing that's outlined in lesson 17. Alright, so that's it's all semitone bends, so your notes are okay, but instead of doing it blues where you kind of hit the note and bend at the same time, you're trying to mimic a pedal steel. You're trying to make it mechanical. So you're going to hit the note and then bend. So it's kind of like you're I guess you're playing your slide guitar, your pedal steel. You're hitting the note, and then the guy would step on a pedal to shift it up, right? So that's kind of what you're after. Now, when you're playing really quickly, it's a little hit and miss. But anyway, that's the idea. Right. So. Right, and then this one you just go one over each other. So. There you go. Right, and then this one is one over at the 12th fret. So you're kind of doing this, and then you resolve on the G. Right. So the trick is they're just half bends, so it's a lighter bend just to go up the half, and the physics of guitar, your frets get smaller as you go up. So the bends are a little smaller as you go up. So the force to do a bend down here is a little bit lighter than what you're doing to get up here. Right? Because the distances are smaller, right? So, keep work on that. The intonation on the bends is really tricky. Sometimes they get a little lost when you go faster. Maybe that's why people like to play fast. I don't know. Actually, yeah, if you're doing that lick slowly and you're bending wrong, it's going to be way more noticeable than if you kind of just tear through it. So, and maybe getting it up to speed's a little, I guess that's cheating. So then when I went back to the 1 chord, which was the G, I couldn't think fast enough, so I just ended up repeating lick from lesson 12 and 2. Right. All right. Then I fell back on those 6. Right. I go back on those 6, and then I do the double stop lick while I'm still on the G chord that I did in lesson 9. Alright. Alright, so that lick is this going back and forth between. So there's the beginning part of a G triad, playing the G and the B, from. If you play your D shape there with your root on the 8th fret, so those bottom 2 notes. And you're just toggling back between this shape and your 3rd finger on the G string. From hitting the E to the D. right? You just kind of go back from this, so that's part of your. This would be part of this shape, your 7th shape. You know, your D7th up here. So your G7th, your G7th shape, and your tog bouncing back and forth a whole tone down, which would be your 7th, right? Which would be your F. You know, and the F is the 7th, the flattened 7th of your G major scale, right? Right, so you got there. So it's just a lot of bouncing back and forth. So then the second time I do it a little differently. Right, so first part starts the same. So you're just walking down from your G to your F. It's kind of like a C, but anyway, you're playing the G and the E there. All right, so that's the lick. So take your time with that lick. That part at speed, sometimes your hands just get kind of really messed up. You know, it's it gives me problems at high speed. Sometimes I stall out on it. So after I finish that lick, you see me just kind of stalling out here. Just kind of doing that before I go to the 4 chord. And the 4 chord, I just kind of repeated the pentatonic thing. And then, so when I get back to the 1 chord, I do the lesson 29 lick again. Right? Anyway, whatever. So the idea here is that I've built like a 1-minute solo from 8 licks taught, so 8 lessons. You know, so you know, you don't need a ton of licks to build a solo. Maybe that's my point. And I also leave the door open that I can do future videos where I pull other licks and do a solo. And that's what I'm going to do. That's a good idea. So then when I get to the D, I used the thing that I did on a recent one where I was showing diminished. Right? And I showed there when I went to the D how I kind of used it. So in the D, I start off with a lick. Right? So the lick that, if I don't throw in the diminished stuff, the full lick was... Right? But here, when I get to that D, I shift up. Right? And I do part of the diminished scale. So this was kind of out of A, actually. So there it is there. Right? Fall there. And now I got to kill a beat or two or a bar, I don't know. Right, so then you just kind of mess around. You know, something in that pentatonic shape off the A position up at the 7th fret for your D. Yeah. Right, and then when we go back into the G, I kind of do this climb. That's that same pattern. That's the diminished. So out of G. So there it is there. And then I just move it up every 4 frets or every minor third. Right? Kind of sounds. It's really simple because it's the same shape, and if you hybrid pick it, you just, you know, just using a finger per finger and a thumb kind of per note. That takes you up to the 12th fret. So it's kind of like a reverse banjo roll. And then you're up at the 12th fret, and then you diddle-daddle there to get you on beat to the next phrase. And then I ended it with a lick from lesson 28. That's that kind of percussive thing with the picking. Right? And then kind of fade it out. So, you know, listen to what I did over the backing track. Check it out. In the description, I will put links to lesson 2, 7, 9, 12, 17, 28, 29, 30, right? So there, I kind of showed you how I assembled a bunch of licks to make an interesting blues country solo, right? So the solo is just a 12-bar blues with a country beat backing track. There's so many of them you can find. Great way to practice. And, you know, that's what you can do. And it's just getting these licks all memorized, so when, you know, the drummer's cooking, the band's cooking, you kind of pull them out fast enough. And, you know, sometimes if you can't pull them out fast enough, you just repeat one. It's not a big deal. You know, I'm going to use the defense that I repeated some here because I'm trying to show how you can create one with not too many licks, right? Yeah, okay. I just couldn't think fast enough. But anyway, I did pull off using 8 of the licks and then doing some filling with some just simple minor or major pentatonic licks that you just kind of do second nature, you know. You're pulling back from when you were a kid and you just only played blues stuff, you know, or if you are young and you are playing blues stuff, whatever. Anyway, those are just licks that we all seem to know, and if we got to fill in a bar, it's easy for us to pull off. So, you know, you kind of use that stuff to fill in between. So this isn't a genius type way of doing a country solo. So it may not be the most musical type of solo, you know, it's not a Brad Paisley with something just totally unique that you've never heard before. And it fits so well with the music. Yeah, it's cut and paste, kind of throwing a bunch of licks together to build a solo. But you know what? You know, I think guys like me and probably a lot of you guys, we're not famous. We're not playing big stadiums. We're playing pubs and bars, and we want to sound as good as we can. And I don't think there's anything wrong with continuing to build your inventory of great sounding cool country licks and just getting them so baked in your head that when the band starts cooking, you can start just pulling them out, pasting them together, you know, joining them lick to lick with some pentatonic type of runs, and it'll sound good. I just wanted to demonstrate that you can build solos from licks, and don't worry about it, and don't let anybody talk you out of doing that. It's how we all have to start. There's guys that are like a gazillion times better than me, and they can do stuff kind of unique, but I think I'm like a lot of you. We want to play good, we want to keep getting better. Anyway, like I said, I put a video out once a week. This one was a little longer. Maybe I'm falling off schedule, but I'm going to try to keep to that once a week. And if you like what you saw here and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I'm really trying to get those subscription numbers up there. Hit the bell button, and I'll see you next week. All right, take care, guys. Bye.